Hey everybody, it's Amanda, and today we are making chicken pot pie. Okay, so I just did a video where I showed you how to make pie crust, and I'm going to link it at the top, so make sure you check that out if you need to know how to make the crust. But the crust is already made and in my pie pan right here. And I mentioned that if you're making a pie with a crust on top, as this one will have, that you want to not do anything with the edges until after you put the filling in, and then I have my second layer sitting right there waiting to go on top once we have the filling. So this is the pie crust, it's ready to go, and we are going to take all of our ingredients and begin to make the filling. So let me show you what you need to make your pot pie filling. Okay, you're backlit over here by the sink, but hopefully you can see everything. I've got 2 potatoes, and that is onion powder, garlic powder, and thyme. I also have salt and pepper. I have some mixed vegetables. This recipe is actually using some leftovers that I have around the house, so that's why it's not a whole lot of mixed vegetables. We're going to make use of it. I have a can of cream of chicken with herbs. You do not have to use this particular kind if you do not have it. Just cream of chicken's fine. Or I'm going to show you how you can make your own filling. But I actually don't have chicken broth. I just have chicken liquid, so I'm going to use that today. We have some milk. This is chicken liquid. I'll tell you more about that in a second. And chicken that I have. So let me tell you about the chicken real fast. All right, so you want to have pre-cooked chicken. This is going to make your job a whole lot easier. This is actually, I make what's called refrigerator chicken. That's what I call it. And basically I just put chicken in the crock pot and take that chicken and put it on a plate, shred it up, and we use that. I keep it in my refrigerator 3 days at a time, and we use it for lunches, like lunch meat. We use it for dinner meals and just all kinds of different things. And then when I cook that chicken, I keep the liquid. This is not a true broth. Okay, true broth cooks a lot longer, but this is just the liquid from when I cooked the chicken, and I keep it and I use it in place of broth when I don't have broth. So pre-cooked chicken, you can use canned chicken. You can go buy a rotisserie and pull the chicken off of that, or you can make your own chicken and cook it at home, but you want some pre-cooked chicken and either a broth or your own chicken liquid. I'm going to do a video on refrigerator chicken just so you can see exactly what I'm talking about, but here you go. And like I said, if you have a true broth, good for you. We can just go straight with that, but if not, this is always helpful. It just gives it a little more flavor. So let's get going. First thing we're going to do, we're going to peel these potatoes because we want to get our potatoes cut, cubed, pre-cooked, because that is actually going to be the thing that takes the longest. Oh, we need something else. We need garlic and onion. I'm going to pre-cut those too. Let me go to the cutting board and you'll see what I'm doing. Okay, so first of all, I am just going to use pre-cut garlic. So minced garlic is already ready and I don't have to chop that, but if not, make sure you chop yourself about 2 cloves of garlic, and I like mine pretty garlicky, so you cut that back if you prefer. The next thing we're gonna do is cut our onion. Again, we're gonna cut this in pretty small dice because it's gonna go in that pot pie, and you don't, I mean, maybe you want a big chunk of onion, but I think the point of a pot pie is it's just like this creamy, comforting thing. So big chunks aren't really the jam for that, but yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and peel these ends off. They're gonna go in my bag in my freezer to make broth because I need to make that. So now we're gonna go ahead and start cutting up our onion. Again, we wanna get it in small dice. Don't judge my cutting skills. I am a mom and not a professional chef. But again, you just want to try to get it as small as possible. Okay. All right. Now, one thing I will say, I have my pan right here, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in a couple of tablespoons of butter. Be generous, because we're actually going to use this for our filling. So we have that there, and as I cut the onion, I'm going to go ahead and toss it into that same pan, and we'll get that going while we finish up the potatoes. You know what, this actually looks like a lot of onion. I might leave that quarter onion out. All right, so the onion is in the pan. I'm going to throw in a tablespoon of that garlic. Let me show you what that looks like. There it is. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this on the stove. I'm gonna cook it on a low temperature while I cut up these potatoes and that way they can cook and brown and get a really nice color before we start making the sauce. Okay, back to vegetables. Now with the potatoes, really one really good sized potato would be enough, but I just have kind of small ones. So I'm peeling it, as you may not be able to see because it's a little low. But I have my trash can right here and I'm peeling right into it. And all I'm gonna do is peel these potatoes and I'm gonna dice them up really small. Because again, you don't want big chunky things. And we're gonna go ahead and pre-cook this on our stove. Now it doesn't have to be boiled completely soft, but we do wanna parboil it at least before we put it in the filling because it's potato, it's hard, it's root, and we want to make sure that it's nice and soft by the time it gets to our pot pie. So again, small cubes. You got to keep in mind what you're cutting for. You don't want too big of chunks in your pot pie. Okay. And let's get this cut up. Now again, I have my pot right here. I'm gonna go ahead and put the potatoes in, and they are going to get some water added. We're gonna, like I said, parboil them, and that'll be enough for the pot pie. You know, now that I've done this one potato, again, a lot of times it's about knowing what you need. I think this one potato will be enough for the pot pie. Let me show you. Here we go, that's my medium-sized saucepan, and I actually think that with the other mixed vegetables, that'll be dispersed nicely, and I think it'll be perfect. So let's get some water in there, get it on the stove. We are going to boil this on high. We're going to put a lid on because we want this to soften so that we can finish making our sauce. Okay, so I have water, and you can see it's just covering the potatoes, and throw a little salt in there, just a little. And we're going to throw the lid on, and we're going to let that cook till it's just starting to soften. Okay, while those are cooking, we're actually going to use the same cutting board and go ahead and chop up some of our chicken. Now when I pull the chicken off the bone, I usually just toss it on the plate, but for this particular use, we are going to want to make sure that, just like everything else, the chicken is cut up small. So we're going to put it all together here and try to dice it. And I'm just going to take these chicken chunks and cut them up smaller. Again, you are going to, depends on what kind of chicken you use. If you're using canned chicken, you probably don't have to cut it up any smaller. If you're peeling it from your rotisserie, you might need to. So just take a minute, get it in some small chunks, and you would be surprised at how far it'll go. You know, the great thing about cutting up our meats is that they usually go a lot farther. You could probably make this entire chicken pot pie with the equivalent of one good-sized chicken breast. It would have to probably be a good-sized one if you were going to get enough protein, especially if you didn't have protein coming from other sources with your meals, if chicken pot pie was the entirety of the meal. Sometimes people add cheese and things, and that can add to the amount of protein in your meal. But it's definitely something you want to consider in terms of what your family's dietary needs are. So anyway, just look at this little handful of chicken that I've cut up into small pieces. I think that's probably going to be enough for our whole pot pie. I think one of the reasons that people make chicken pot pie, besides that it tastes amazing, is because it is a great way to use up your leftovers. So like I said, just the equivalent of one good-sized chicken breast or any kind of leftover meat that you have, you can definitely turn into a chicken pot pie. My family loves a good ham pot pie. We eat turkey ham, but if you have ham left over from the holidays, you can make an amazing ham pot pie as well. So anyway, I've never done it with beef, but I bet you could do it. Anyway, I'm gonna put this aside. We're gonna wait for potatoes and onions and garlic and everything to get cooked, and then we are gonna really get this filling together. It's gonna come together so quick. All right, you can see the onion and the garlic have really cooked down. They're looking good, have a lot of flavor, and the potatoes are also almost done. So we're gonna start, sorry, this is gonna be loud. We're gonna start making our sauce. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna add a third cup of flour, and I'm gonna stir that up to incorporate it really fast. And once it looks like it's soaked up all of that nice fat that we had in there, we are going to add our broth / chicken liquid. So, all right, that looks really good. Now with this broth or liquid, whatever you got, frankly, you could even use water if you were inclined. It wouldn't be as flavorful if you were like really on a budget and that's what you had. This liquid always has a layer of fat at the top, so I gotta take my fork out and we're gonna put that beautiful fat in here as well. Because you don't want to have your chicken without some good fat, but we want about 2.5 cups, and of course this is a quart-sized jar, 2.5 cups of your broth or your liquid. So I'm just going to eyeball it with my quart measure. It's a great thing about these canning jars that they have the measures right on there for you, so you can just don't have to dirty another cup. And that's my oven. It's already heated up, ready to go. All right, so we're gonna stir this up again, incorporating all the liquid together. And once we do that, we're gonna start adding our seasoning. So we're gonna add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, you name it, we're gonna add it. But first I wanna make sure, because the flour has gotten it's bound to all that garlic and onion that's been in here, so I'm kind of pressing it to make sure that it's not leaving itself in clumps. We want it to incorporate into the mixture and try not to make a mess like I'm doing. Okay, so we're gonna do this like we do any other recipe. A little bit of salt, just like a little sprinkle of it, a little bit of pepper. Again, we're eyeballing this. I know you're saying, Amanda, I need exact measurements. Girl, no you don't. No you don't. You're gonna let the Spirit of the Lord tell you how much salt and pepper you need. You know what I'm saying? Let him speak to you. Say, Lord, is that enough? And he'll say, yeah, that looks good. And it's just honestly a little sprinkle across the top is gonna be plenty. Okay, the only thing is my garlic powder. The only thing you really want to take a little peek at is I'm going to add some thyme. Thyme is a seasoning. We want to put a pinch or two. Again, you just kind of want to cover it. This thyme gives it that pot pie flavor. It's very specific. It's got a very chickeny kind of scent to it. And so that is what's going to make this just the right flavor. Okay. And then we're going to stir it again because you can see it's already starting to thicken up. Okay. So now that we've done that, we've got all these seasonings in here. If you are not using the cream of chicken, which I am going to use, okay, you might want to add another 1/2 cup or so of milk, and maybe even I think this flour is going to be sufficient, but just another little bit of liquid to thicken it up. I already, since I'm going to use the cream of chicken, I might add a dash of milk just for the creaminess, but you really don't have to. You know what I'm saying? We're just going to put this in here and let it do its thing. It's adding its own flavor. Right? Now, if you don't like processed foods, by all means, the milk and additional flour is going to be plenty for your filling without this. Okay. And like I said, I'm just probably going to put just a dash of milk. Just a little dash, because it looks a little thick. All right, now once we get this stirred up and incorporated, we are going to add our chicken, our mixed vegetables, and even our potatoes, and that is going to be our filling. Okay. Now the great thing about the way that I cook, a lot of it is intuitive. I've been cooking for so many years, and I really want to encourage you to develop the skill of intuitive cooking if you do not have it already. Okay, I love having a recipe. Sometimes you need them to get by. Like when we're making our pie crusts, it's very specific numbers that you need. But something like this filling, you can change it up with lots of different things. You could put pimentos in here. You could put just other peppers. You could put mushrooms. You could do all kinds of things in your pot pie depending on what you prefer. So I really want you to embrace the idea of cooking intrinsically as something for your future. Now I just have a little bit of mixed vegetables, honestly. I was just trying to think of how I could use it up. So normally I would prefer to add a little bit more mixed vegetables in this, I'm gonna be honest with you. But I like to just use what I have and try to do something with it. So there's not gonna be a lot in this particular recipe, but normally I'd like to have at least a cup or two of mixed vegetables in my filling. Okay. And you can see that chicken ended up being more than enough. Let me turn this down. And I'm gonna go get a slotted spoon and we're gonna get those potatoes. And it's okay, this has gotten so thick, it's totally okay that if a little liquid from this potatoes goes into this filling, because I actually might even toss them in here intentionally, because we want to just kind of, there we go, make it a little less thick. Yep, that's perfect. And let's go ahead and stir this. All right. That is looking amazing. All right. Again, I really wish I had more mixed vegetables, but it's gonna be tasty, that's for sure. All right, so we have our filling. Let's go put together our pot pie. I have my pie crust, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the filling right into it. Just scoop it in. And I can smell all those seasonings, the thyme and all the yumminess as I put it in. I'm just kind of putting my spoon in there and spreading it around so we have a nice even filling. I have preheated my oven to 400 degrees. And we're gonna let this cook for about 45 minutes. Now the filling itself is pretty much cooked. We're just gonna let the flavors incorporate, make sure the crust cooks, and let everything come together into one delicious, tasty dish. All right, so I was lifting this up. Normally I wouldn't do this so far away from the counter, but I was trying to show you guys on camera. So I had this pie crust lifted up and it kind of tore a little bit, but I did press it together, so hopefully it'll bubble up nicely. Okay, so all I'm gonna do, I put the lid on and I am going to press around the edges. I want this pie crust to seal pretty well. Okay, and once I've pressed around the edges, I'm gonna take my knife and I'm gonna go around the edges. And this one has a handle on it, so I gotta kind of go across the handle here. And there we go, let me put that up there. Okay, and there we go. We're just gonna cut around these edges. There we go, and we have some leftover pie crust for pie crust cookies. Now, I showed you how to flute a pie crust on my last video. So on this one, we're gonna do something a little different. We'll do crisscrosses. So easy, you just take your fork and crisscross it. There we go. And this is if you feel like you have no skill with a pie at all. Anybody can crisscross it. Frankly, if you wanna just keep it simple, you could just go straight up and down with your pie, or with your fork, I mean. But I like the crisscross pattern personally. It's just something that I like. And it's just another way to close a pie. It works really well on something like a pot pie because we do want the edges to be sealed. And because we're essentially pressing, it just helps to reinforce that edge. Some spots it's not quite on the edge, it's pulling in a little, and that's okay. Perfect. perfect. Well, not perfect, rustic, but that's, you know, that's what great pies are. Since this is a pot pie, we also want to cut holes in the center so it has some room for air. This knife, the knife that I was using, is bent at the tip a little because I have children. They're all grown now, but they still did it. Anyway, so we're gonna cut a hole in the middle, and I like to do a nice little star pattern, so I do 2 on either side and 1 on either side here. So it's a nice little T, letter T. And then we'll do the corners right here, right in the middle. And then we'll go in the middle of all of those spaces and do another hole. There we go. And that is perfect. So let's look it up close. Alrighty, there's our chicken pot pie. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the oven, like I said, 45 minutes, and it should be ready to go. Okay, our pot pie is done. Let me pull this out, and you can see it's nice and brown. I'll pick it up and put it up here. Look at that. Beautiful. All right, so there we go. Perfect pot pie. You can see this edge where I didn't seal it really good. It's kind of popped up a little bit, but it didn't spill over in the oven. So again, just a reminder, make sure you seal it really good. But anyway, look at that, beautiful. Okay, so we are going to let this cool completely, probably like 10-15 minutes before I start to slice it, because I don't want really bubbly hot liquid in my mouth. It's gonna burn my tongue. So give it at least 10-15 minutes before you start cutting it and putting it on plates. But it is beautiful and ready for a meal. Hey everybody, it's Amanda. I'm in the editing room. I'm trying to get this video up, and I realized that I lost the footage at the very end. So I do have pictures of my pot pie slices, and I did cut it a little early. You want to let it sit a little bit longer if you want to get it nice and firm, so you get that nice firm you know, just slice that you can pick up and it all stays together. I actually cut it as soon as possible, and so all of the filling just kind of was spilling out because it was warm, but it was so good. It was so good. It doesn't matter, like, we're eating with our family and it doesn't have to be pretty, but if you're doing the pretty thing, if this is the holiday, you've got serving people, that's just how you want to do it. But anyway, I'm going to show you a picture. Doesn't that look great? Right? So I hope you will try this recipe. It's after Thanksgiving, and this is perfect for your leftover turkey. Like I said, you can use it for ham. The recipe's great. In the description box, I will have all of the instructions that you need to make it both with the cream of soup and without the cream of soup, so there's options for you. And of course, I encourage you to add in extras. If you use mushrooms, go ahead and fry those up, have them sliced and cut up really thin and small, but go ahead and fry those with the garlic and onions. But most other vegetables, if they're hard, like if you have some sweet potatoes left over from your holidays, cut those up and boil those with the potatoes. If you use most of your other vegetables that you can just put in like your peas, your green beans, all of those, you can put those in with the mixed vegetables. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments, but I hope you guys use this recipe. It's a favorite of our family, and I know it's gonna be a favorite of yours. You guys have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye.